Rock the Ripple. Rock the Ripple. The Rock the Ripple podcast with Narita McInnes.
Let's do this. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Rock the Ripple podcast. I'm your host, Narita McInnes. It is so awesome to be here with you as always. And today is another very exciting day because I am joined by yet another very special guest. She is the founder of AiO CACAO. She is a cacao facilitator and trainer, a sound immersion specialist, an incredibly wise soul with a magical voice to match. There is, of course, so much more to this incredible woman. She is the one and only beautiful insider out, Murphy Ryland. Murphy, welcome to the show.
Narita, thank you so much for having me. It's lovely to be here.
It is so awesome to be here with you today. I've been looking forward to this for quite a while. I have known you for a while now, and every time, so basically to give you at home some background, Murphy is amazing. And I think I might have come across you the first Sky to Earth conference, and then we did Rachel's course together. And we're doing the Lay Love Down project together. There's just so much there. And every time you would come on screen, I'd just be like, this woman is amazing. She has so much wisdom to share. I just need to chat to her and hang out with her. So I'm so grateful that you're here. So I guess, as always, at the start of the podcast, for anyone who might not know who you are, please share away. Who is Murphy Ryland?
So I think probably the easiest start for that would be with my pepeha, which is, it's an introduction that Māori use in formal situations or formal occasions. But it's also the way that I introduce myself to land. So if I'm traveling somewhere and I visit a new forest or a new stream or a beach, it's how I say hello. So my name is Murphy, and I was born in a coastal town in the far north of New Zealand called Whangarei.
Mm-hmm.
But I was raised further south at the feet of a sleeping volcano called Puruaki. So Puruaki is my mountain. Tarawera is my river. Tarawera is also my forest. Nukitamemeha is my waka. Hiruhara mai and Pohorauri are my marae. And I'm a woman of Waitaha and Ngāti Porou. And it's an honor for me to be here today. I've seen quite a few of your podcasts as well as being in the groups with you, and they're always so incredibly inspiring. I feel like I come away from each of them with a new way of looking at things, or a head full of things to go over through the day and really contemplate and sit with. So to be sitting here and actually be more of a part of this is really, it's an honor for me. So thank you for having me here.
Oh, thanks, Murphy. It's an honor for me too. And I just know that when people tune into this episode, they're going to learn so much. I mean, even in our messages to each other, you're always teaching me something, and I'm learning something from you. And I just feel so blessed and grateful for that. And I mean, you've had a background where you've worked, where you've lived in New Zealand and where you've started, and you've also gone on lots of adventures. But maybe, do you want to talk a bit about what do you want to start with? Because there is so much. I just want to pick your brain. What's on your heart that you would love to start with to share today?
Yeah, good question. I think maybe how I came to be working with cacao and plants in general.
Yeah.
So I was I was living and working in Europe, and I was in the super yacht industry, which, if you can imagine, is quite a polarity for what I'm doing now. But so I was working freelance. I'd do a few months on a yacht, and then I do a few months on land. But when I was on land, I was working at a plant medicine retreat as the chef. So the polarity, like I know I just said polarity before, but it was even more contrasting, you know, like yeah, it did make me laugh, you know, the way that my body found balance with that, you know, with the how I earn money, but you know, this other thing that I really love. And so yes, I left the yacht industry. I was asked by the lady who ran and owned the plant medicine retreat in Europe. She'd moved to Bali and she was like, I'm doing this women's empowerment retreat, but I need, you know, I want to be the face. I don't have time to do all the other stuff. Can you do operations? So I left the yacht that I was working with. And I was like, heck yeah, I want to live in Bali. It's like, who wouldn't want to do that, you know? So yes, I hopped over to Bali and I was there for a wee while and we started working with cacao. So it wasn't my plant of choice. Like I was already quite happily working with another one. And I was very comfortable and happy in that decision. Then, you know, in stepped cacao, and I was like, okay, great. So chocolate, right? And my husband was like, no, it's more than that. And the plant that we were working with in Europe was so strong and so, you know, in your face, I guess you could say, to go from working with that one to working with cacao was a huge step. And I felt not backwards or forwards, but to the side, you know. So, and I wasn't really sold on it because I kept just thinking, oh, chocolate. I like chocolate. Sure, let's work with the chocolate, you know. But yeah, after sitting with cacao and working with her and returning and returning and returning, I started to develop this really beautiful relationship that, you know, that I still hold really dear today. And I feel like even though it's been so long that I've been working with her now, but I still feel like a student, you know, I don't feel like I have all the answers and you know, I've got everything down pat. I feel like it's a relationship that's really evolved and grown over time. And I almost feel like once I really grasp an understanding of one level of how to work with her, it opens up to another level and on, you know. So it's really become this yeah, it's like a gift that keeps giving. So yeah.
Wow. And for people who might not have ever worked with cacao and might be wondering, well, how does this plant medicine, I guess you would call it, work and what is involved and you know, and I know you run ceremonies and things like that, but perhaps talk a bit more about that.
Yeah, so the Mayan people, they call it medicine because it's not just nutritious for your body, which it is. It's great for your body. It's, you know, it's full of macro micronutrients and a host of other things, you know. So it's not just body food. It's heart food, it's mind food, and it's spirit food. So if you look at the, you know, heart, mind, body, spirit sort of all-encompassing being that we are, cacao addresses every single part of that. And the energy of the plant is one, like I always say, she's one of a loving grandmother. The other plant I was working with was quite a stern and, you know, sort of shake you up grandmother. But this one, she's kind and compassionate and she's really like, in terms of guidance, it's not look at the thing, this is where you need to be, but more of a, like she holds your hands and walks with you and beside you like a strength and support. So
Mm.
there's that element of it as well that I find really nurturing and nourishing. And I think when you're sitting within a healing modality, or if you're in like a sound healing situation, or I know that there are a lot of healers that are using cacao pre-session to help with heart opening, and this, she does help facilitate difficult things to come up to be released. So really amazing for trauma release. Yeah, she's just such an incredible ally, and but in such a calm and compassionate and loving way. The patience of a saint.
Mm.
So that would be one way of looking at how to work with her, how her, like, the ripple effect of her energy. But she loves the chat as well. So she's also used in ancient tradition for conflict resolution.
Mm.
So not only for the heart opening and calming and, bringing you into a state of balance and poise, if you will, but also to be able to articulate and to speak from a place where you consider and take into consideration the other person. So for any kind of difficult conversation that you may need to have, she's absolutely magic for that too. And creativity as well. So for things like art or sculpture or writing, and also body creativity, so dance, yoga, these kinds of physical expression as well. So she is really multifaceted, and it really depends on, with any plant medicine that you sit with, your intention is everything. So if your intention is to sit and work through some trauma, or go through, maybe you're trying to come to a deeper understanding of self, or drop into a really deep meditation, great, that's your intention, that's how you're going to sit. But if you've been sitting for too long and your intention is, I really want to shake some shit up today, I really want to get my body moving and cut the rug, so to speak, then there you go. There's your intention, and she'll roll with that and really, like, breathe life and love and creative spark into that with you.
That's so beautiful. And when you're working with cacao, is every time a ceremony, or is it that you can have it, like, how often can you have it, and what would you know what I mean? Like, so for some people that might not have ever even worked with cacao, or understood that you can work with cacao like other plant medicine, like, how does that look? How does that play out?
So yes, there's a ceremony space, but depending on how sensitive your system is, I'd recommend having a small dose and sitting with it, seeing how your body responds. For somebody, let's say you're a first time user, completely first time, never had it before, I'd have maybe 2 teaspoons in a cup and just sit to talk to the plant and invite in the spirit of the plant and ask her, like, how can we work together? What benefits do you have? How can our relationship grow? How can, what beautiful things can come from this moment with you? And generally your body will tell you, actually, that was really lovely and that's enough. Or you could try have a little more. So when it comes to dosing, if you are sensitive to stimulants, I'd suggest people start with 10 grams. It's a pretty easy introduction. It's really easy to read how it's going to sit in your body. Myself, I have 35 to 40 grams in a cup, and I try to keep my practice as pure as possible. So hot water, and then because I work within my own day keeper's calendar for the energy of the day, there's an ingredient that goes into the cacao, and the ingredient either honors the energy of the day or it works in harmony by like uplifting and boosting those energies. So depending on the energy of the day is what I'll put into my cacao in the morning. Sometimes I have one in the afternoon as well. If I'm feeling like I'm working through some things, like I'm in web development mode at the moment. So sometimes in the afternoon, I feel like, oh, this is really getting a little bit, or, I could do with a bit of a hand, I could do with some creative insight and just a little bit of a bolster. So then I'll, make myself another cup, maybe not so much as the morning, because for me, it's kind of like having coffee after 3 p.m. There are stimulants in it. So I try to, if I'm going to have a second cup, I try to keep it, sort of before that time and not so strong. But my second cup, often I'll feel into it. What feels right? What do I need in this moment? Like I might reach for a plant tincture, or sometimes I just have it plain. I really like to just have it plain. When I was first learning, or when I was first studying with cacao, my first teacher said the more additions you put in it, it's like each addition you take a step away or a step back from the medicine of the plant. And I think certainly if somebody's starting out with it, especially in a really mindful type of practice, staying as pure as possible in the beginning is a really, really good way of coming to understand how the energy of the plant feels. Every plant medicine, plant tincture, tea, however you're going to work with these plants, they have a really definite signature, and they have a really beautiful frequency to them, each their own. They're individuals just like we are. And so when you really get to understand that plant's frequency, then I'd say, maybe add something else. So then not only are you really feeling into the energy of the plant that you're working with, but you can feel the complement of that other addition, and it doesn't become like a jumbled, messy noise in your excuse me, in your head or in your body, respectively. You can really start to feel them come into harmony with each other, and yeah, it's a really beautiful part of the practice too. So if to circle back to your question, for someone who wants to use cacao on the daily, be it for a meditative practice or to boost some other mindful type of practice, maybe their practice is writing, or maybe their mindful practice comes from a form of yoga, then I would look at whether that practice is rested or if it's active, insofar as adding sweetness. And it's a little bit of a hot topic there, whether to add or not to add. So sugar, I'd say absolutely not. It disrupts too much of the energies compete, and it's not very comfortable if you're doing a rested practice. But also sugar, processed sugar, as we know it blocks the body's ability to uptake a lot of the nutrients in the cacao. So does cow milk. So yeah, so I definitely step away from that. But if for something like for an active meditation or an active practice like writing or dance or yoga, depending on the yoga, um, then yeah, I think that would be the only place that I would consider to add some kind of sweetener, and even then it would be um like honey or I don't know if you've ever tried dates soaked in water and then use the date water.
I
So
haven't.
that can be
Is
cool.
that good? Yeah. Or what about
Yeah.
agave? Would agave be any good?
Um, I guess I haven't tried agave, so
Mm.
yeah, yeah. And then yeah, so with honey as well, honey is one of the ingredients for the Daykeeper's calendar. So you could always just wait until that day.
Is it a long wait though?
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, there's another thing to that as well. It's like a lot of indigenous medicines are bitter.
Mm.
And, I've been told by a few people that when you have medicines that are bitter and you're having them over, let's say I'm having one over the course of a week, the day that it feels the most or tastes the most bitter, that's when your body really needs it the most. So you kind of have to lean into that. And the only reason that we know cacao to be sweet is because when the Spanish took it overseas, they were like, oh, this is great. Let's put, they put a whole lot of additions into it. And it really it took too many steps away from its origin.
Mm.
I kind of feel like we're programmed to put sugar in things, and it really does not only disrupt the frequency of that thing that we're adding it to, but yeah, it's just I think so destructive for our inner balance and our ability to connect with things. I think it's quite disruptive on quite a few levels, but yeah. So I think what I certainly found as well, the more you sit with cacao, the more your palate adjusts as well. So you kind of, not you kind of, you do. After a while, your palate really adjusts to that bitterness, and you don't even notice it. What really steps forward and what really comes into the forefront is flavor profile and all of the nuance and the movement and flavor tones. So
Mm. I love this conversation so much. And as you're talking about all of this, like I'm feeling, I'm feeling the plant talk through you, and I'm just feeling this connection. And I feel like that when you do work with cacao, not only are you, having this beautiful experience and whatever your intention is set, but you're tapping into your intuition so much more, and you're learning more about yourself and the world around you. Like it feels like it's a really beautiful relationship that, you step into. And like you were saying earlier, I think you were talking about the other plant though, but it's like it's showing you what needs to be there as well, or showing and working with it in that way. I don't know if I'm making sense right now, but hopefully you're picking up what I'm putting down. Yeah. So yeah, I think that the intuition thing like was just fully coming through when you were talking, and just knowing who you are. Do you feel like that's something that you've gained the most, or is there something you have like even gained the most, or is it just this full relationship with yourself and or everyone, or yeah, what have you found most beneficial?
yeah, great question. And there's so many answers to that. The In the first stages of my relationship with the plant, it became a really deep understanding of self-awareness and settling. It's almost like Before it was kind of a bit jumbled and shaky and here and there, and and a bit busy. And through my practice with cacao, I was able to find a place of stillness and balance, which I found in the early days was it was such great medicine. It was exactly what I needed at the time. And then on from that, I think the coming into that space and then being with other people, it creates a ripple effect. And so being able to watch that take place and watch that take form is really beautiful. It's a really incredible thing to observe. And then beyond that, with my daily practice, I've found that cacao's brought me a lot closer to the land that I live on. It's brought me a lot closer as well to my ancestors and the practice that I have in meditation and through prayer with them also. But the connection to the land, and I know I said the land that I live on, but it's also the land that I visit. I love getting out and about and adventuring and checking out new places, and I feel like the combined respect that I have for the land and the practices that I have for the land through my heritage, but also through connection with cacao and how she's been held throughout the millennia by her native homelands and traditions. The acknowledgement to all of the elements and the land and everything that encapsulates our lives. It's really, really taken that to a whole other level as well. Like in a traditional mind called sig, which is how cacao would originally be used in ceremony, it was used as an offering to the earth. So people didn't drink it, they put it in the fire because it was the most sacred thing that they had to offer. And the practice or the way of viewing her was like the fifth element. So you've got in each of the four directions, you have our base elements. So air, water, fire, and earth. But then they would put cacao in the center and see her as the fifth element. So she would sit there and create dialogue and happy communication among all of the other elements.
That's so cool.
So, yeah, I know. There are so many levels to it. And I really feel like I was saying before, the unfolding of all of these things that's really helped to create a really beautiful relationship with myself, but also with my external environment. And it's really shifted the way that I see the world at large, really.
That's so good. I'm so glad we're having this conversation. And I feel with the work that you're doing, but also just being the person that you are, the amazing soul that you are, like when you're out in nature, because we've done Rachel's course as well, and we can now spot ley lines and portals. Do you I mean, you're so connected to the land already. Do you feel like that's helped? But also, I mean, can you talk a bit about the land too? Because you've taught me so many things, like how to say things, what this means, and in Maori and all that sort of stuff. I'd love to hear more about that too. So, yeah, share away, please, please.
So my earliest memories of connecting with the land was with my mum. So when I was little, because we had the Tarawera forest right at our doorstep, Mum and I would go into the forest, but we'd have to stop like right at the edge. We couldn't, you couldn't just walk in. We had to stand there and we called to the god of the forest, and his name's Tane Mahuta. So we'd stand there and called the god of the forest, and then we'd say our names and what we were there for, and it was always picking pine cones. We were getting pine cones with fire. So yeah, so we'd stand there and have a little chat and wait, just wait for some kind of indication that we'd been heard.
Mm.
And then we'd walk in there and we'd be picking pine cones, and mum would be like, all this fun, and like certain things or certain areas would stand out, and she'd always talk about how and why, and so that was really, in my formative years especially, one of my most cherished memories.
Mm.
And yeah, especially birds and the way that birds show up. And birds are really sacred to Māori and our stories and practices, and the way that they communicate with us and bring messages and signs as well. And so those walks in the forest with mum, we'd have little fantails here, there, and everywhere. And I'd be like, oh, fantails, because I love them. They're so cute and so tiny. I think they're like the size of fairy wrens here.
Okay, so so what are they? Because I'm thinking those little chocolate things. So they're actually little birds, aren't they? Or yeah?
Yeah. It's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
a tiny little bird, but with a really beautiful, like a fan tail.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. So that makes more sense. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. So mum said that Tane had sent the fantails to watch over us and protect us because we'd said the right things at the beginning. Because we'd waited, we'd knocked at the door. We didn't just walk into his living room, and we stood there. We knocked at the door, we announced ourselves, and then we waited to be let in. And so for that reason, he'd sent these little ones to pip around us and make sure we were safe and keep an eye. And yeah, so that was my, yeah, definitely my introduction. And then through my excuse me, through my teen years, home wasn't the best place to be, so I'd often go walking through the hills, and there were no shortage of little glens and hidey nooks and bits of forest that looked like they were from a movie, from some kind of Lord of the Rings set design or something. So I'd often sit and sing to the trees, and I'd chat with the elementals, and I always had this feeling, it's like, and I'd often say out loud, and sometimes I still do, I can feel you, I know that you're there, but I can't see you. But yes, it is a really, really beautiful connection that I'm incredibly grateful to have, and one that I try my best to honor and and hold with great reverence.
Yeah, I mean, you're so connected to the land, and I think what a gift to be able to learn and appreciate and have your mother there to teach you to ask for the permission. I love the way that you explain it. Like you wouldn't just walk into someone's lounge room unannounced. Like you do, you ask for permission, you knock at the door. Is it okay to come in? And and then I guess too when it's not okay to come in, you're like, okay, something's going down here. I'm gonna go the other way. Has that happened to you as
Exactly.
well?
Mostly not so much with forests, but
Mm,
with water. So I do the same thing when I'm at a beach or if I've gone to a river or something.
mm,
And I stand with my toes just in the water. So my frequency and my energy is going into the water. And I have a chat with the god of the ocean. So I'll stand and talk to Hine Moana, and I'll ask for safe passage. And I always say, my why. So I'll pepeha if it's new water,
Mm-hmm.
and then I'll say, I'm just here for a little swim. Don't want to take anything. Not going to hurt anyone or anything, but I ask for the same in return. And sometimes you get either a feeling or see a shadow in the water, or so it's mostly been with water that I've had warnings.
Mm. And so you didn't go in, obviously, when you see a shadow in the water? No. That's a very good sign. It's a very good sign. And how much, like, can't even talk. How you would have had so many experiences like that. And I love how connected you are to the land and to really being able to tune in. And I feel like it's something that it's there. You don't switch it off. It's just always there, and. Are there some experiences that have just been so profound, or stories that you'd love to share around, um, being part of that and connected? Because I feel like you can teach us so much, because in this day and age, when you think about it, like all the technology and everything going on, when we come back to nature, when we step back there and we remember that we're connected and that we're living in partnership with nature, like that is such a profound and special thing, isn't it?
Absolutely,
Mm.
100%.
Mm.
I think probably the easiest little exercise that anyone could do if they're going out in areas that are new to them, or maybe even start with an area that's familiar, like your garden or a park that you visit often, or favorite beach, or favorite walking area. I don't know. I find somewhere, as I was saying before, before Mum and I would go into the forest, we'd stand at the edge. So maybe stand somewhere that feels like the entry to that place, or an area that you can introduce yourself, and do that. Introduce yourself. My name is, this is where I was born. This is where I grew up. This was my closest mountain or mountain range or hill, or if it's maybe somewhere from the flatlands, you could talk about the plains. Then the river that you grew up near, or the closest body of water, if it was a lake or a beach. And all of these things, as you're introducing yourself to the land and you're describing all of these other lands that were around you, it's like you're explaining to the land that you're on all of these other elements of land, or pieces of land, or identities of land that raised you, that formed you, that watched you, and that brought you up, that helped you grow. So it creates like a story of your formation, if that makes sense. So I find that's a really beautiful way to connect. And then to stand or sit, if you prefer to sit. And I imagine, if you think of the earth plane as a line, and you sitting or standing on the earth as a small line, a nice introduction can also be to offer your love and your gratitude to the heart of the heavens and the heart of the earth. And through that, you create. So by offering love and gratitude up to the heart of the heavens, it swoops up and out of you and around. And then to the heart of the earth, it comes back down and then swoops under the heart of the earth. And so you create this, this really beautiful flow to sit and feel into that, and drive it out, that also feels really good.
Mm,
It's a really beautiful way to connect with where you are and tune into more than your body.
I love that so much. And I'm just thinking of a place where I'm just going to go and do that soon. Absolutely. And when you're introducing yourself and speaking, wherever you choose to go, are you saying it in your mind or are you saying it out loud, or can you do both, either or?
I think it's whatever you feel comfortable with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because it
Especially
doesn't
if
matter.
you're in a
Yeah.
yeah, there might be other people around, you might not feel so comfortable to say that. And then, yeah, I'd go with whatever you feel comfortable with in the moment, because the more you do it, the more you're going to feel comfortable, as with anything. And the more familiar it's going to become, the easier it's going to get. And the more, just the more level, balanced, calm, and in tune with that you're going to be. So I like to say it out loud because I like chatting with the others. And yeah, for me it's out loud.
Yeah. I think I've done both, out loud or in my mind. And and you're saying out loud as well. Something that you have a very beautiful gift of is singing, not to mention writing as well. You're very creative. And have you, like, we're both doing, seeing ley lines and going out and with the intention of just bringing love, which is really all we need to do. Do you sing in there as well?
I do. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I won't put you on the spot and make you sing or anything.
No, please don't.
I wouldn't do that to you, mate. But it's something that people can do. And like in the same way that you would introduce yourself and say why you're here, you can also say, I'm here to sing a song of love or whatever it might be with that intention. Would you do that as well?
Absolutely. It is something that I do on the regular. So just recently I drove from Melbourne to Far North Queensland, and I've done the drive a couple of times before, but I've always gone the coast road because, who doesn't love a good coast road?
Exactly.
But so I entered my destination into Google Maps and my point of origin, and it showed the back road, the way through outback Queensland. And I was like, all right, I haven't done that road, I'll do that road. Let's give it a try, why not, And knowing that I wanted to travel about 3 to 4 hours a day, I'd look along that line at what, 3 to 4 hours, there's this town, what's that town like? I'd have a look at images. And more often than not, while I was looking at that town, I'd be like, yeah, but why is that name standing out to me? What's special about this other town over here? And then I'd look at that and there'd be a sacred site, or there'd be some incredible body of water. And I was like, all right, well, don't worry about that other town then. I'm going to go to this one, obviously. So my whole journey up was like that. And I found myself at some really incredible places. And the intention before I set out on my journey was that wherever I landed, I was going to sing to the water. And if I landed in a town that was mostly dry, because in all honesty, I did expect like the outback to be quite red and crunchy. It wasn't, but that's what I was expecting. I've also got songs that I sing to the land that bring peace and calm and tranquility to the land and the spirits of the land, and honor the energies of the land. So I was like, all right, I've got my arsenal of songs, of, and so everywhere I stopped, I'd introduce myself. I'd make it known that I didn't want to take anything that I wasn't there to cause any harm, and that I asked that no harm come to me. Yeah. And then I'd say I've come with gifts for the water and the energies that watch over the water, or gifts for into the land and the energies that watch over the land. And that was my journey up. And I've had this conversation with a couple of friends about the talents that stood out and the songs that I was singing. And through conversation, it's come up like, oh, maybe you're following a song line. So I don't know, but it would be really lovely if I was. So one of the places that I stopped, and it was one of the ones that jumped out, it wasn't one that was along that route, one of the ones that jumped out was Carnarvon Gorge, and I'd never been there before, and I had no idea what to expect. I had my hiking boots though, so I was like, I'm ready for anything. Let's see what happens. And the second day that I was there, I was in the camp kitchen making my cacao, and I heard a "Hello, sister" behind me, and it was one of the traditional owners, and he was like, "Oh, hey, how's it going? What are you making there?" And we started chatting, and then 3 hours disappeared. We stood there sharing a lot of stories. He told me about the land, and he was saying like how his mum was one of the last people to be born into Moss Garden, which is the original birthing pool for the tribe there.
Wow.
And yeah, it was just absolutely incredible, the connection with him and his wife and daughter. And we went into the gorge and went to some pretty amazing places together, and that felt like just such a huge honor. And then the grandmas came, the grandmas and the aunties all came. So then I got to meet them too, and I was like, what on earth is going on? This is amazing. And we'd arrived on the same day as well, and to Carnarvon, it all felt like, when certain synchronicities line up, and
You're meant to be there at that time. Absolutely.
100%.
How cool is
Yeah.
that?
Yeah, there was quite a few unfoldings in Carnarvon, and through the connections that I made with them, that I still feel the ripple effect of. And I'm just blown away by the trip in its entirety. But Carnarvon really stood out for me.
Wow, that just feels amazing. Like what is like a gift, and like because you're following your intuition and your heart so well, Murphy. Like you're like you're like a walking big heart, but you're following it as well, and your guidance, and it's just testament to you to then have that amazing experience. Like that would have just been, I mean, there's no words, is there? It's priceless.
Yeah, 100%. Like the place that we went and saw, and then like the day that I met them. This was before the grandmothers and the aunties showed up. But the gentleman that I met, he said, "Oh, what are your plans for today? Where are you going to go? Heading into the gorge." And I just come off the back of a really big year, so I was like, "Oh, I'm probably going to take it a little bit easy. I'm going to just do the baby walk." There was a nearby water hole that was like 300 meters from the car park. I was like, yeah, I'm just gonna, I'll do the Bubba one first. And he gave me direction where to go. He was like, "Oh, there's the path here, but then blah blah blah, go here, check this out. There's a secret place, and go see what you think." And yeah, so I went there, followed his instructions, and I went there. I ended up at the most incredible pool. It just looked like an emerald mirror. It was so stunning. And it had this like a semicircle rock wall that kind of came up and over it, but then went into cliff. It
Wow.
so stunning. And so I stood there and I did my pepeha, and I said that I was there to sing to the water. And I looked up from the water, and in the rock face were 3 faces looking back at me under what looked like an eave.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, 3 sisters. And I was like, oh, hello there. You
Wow.
must be the king. Oh. And so I was singing, and then something caught my eye on another rock wall, and it looked like the head and the upper body of a taniwha. And so then I was like, oh, hello. You must be the guardian of the pool. So for Māori, taniwha are traditionally associated with waterways, and they're kind of like monsters that if you don't do the right thing, the taniwha will bite your bum,
Mm-hmm.
But you do right, and it will keep you safe and protect you. So yeah, for me to not only be shown this place, but then to meet these incredible elementals that were there with and part of that space as well, it was just incredible. And then for me to return to camp and catch up with the family again, they asked me, oh, how did it go today at the pool? Did you find it? And I said, oh yeah, I found it. Yeah, it's really pretty. And they're like, yeah, it's very beautiful. And I was like, I met the 3 sisters too, and they're like, oh, you met them? Oh, okay, yeah. And I was like, yeah, and they're taniwha, and oh, you met them too. And then so they were like, oh, she met and I couldn't help but wonder if it was a kind of test in a way. But
Yeah, I feel like
kind of
you were meant to meet them that day. And I feel when you were talking, I was like, they knew you were coming. I got that download. Do you feel that as well, that they knew you were coming?
the land or the family.
Well, the family is what I got, and obviously the land as well. But I just felt like because you were there on the same day, and you know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm,
100%.
mm. How special is
Yeah.
that? How... So did you hang out with them for the rest of the day, or sort of what happened from there? Yeah.
Yeah, so Carnarvon, I was only supposed to be there for a night, and I ended up staying, I think I was there 4 nights.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I and it was just because of them.
Mm,
Yeah.
so special.
So there was that day that I went in by myself, and then I went in with them, and we went to some sacred sites, and just walking through the trails with them. Yeah, it felt really, I don't know, really otherworldly, like almost as if things were like shimmery, when they're heightened.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
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 Mm.
Yeah. I have a feeling that, they say that your life flashes before your eyes when you pass. And I really hope that the time that I spend in Carnarvon is some of the snippets that I get as I'm up and out to my next journey. That'd
Yeah.
be really lovely.
Oh, it sounds like such a beautiful place. And, you talking about, I'm like, I need to do a road trip. I need to go through this place. It just, but you know, but the whole thing is just magical. And that's the thing. Like if we, like what I was saying before, if we follow our heart and our intuition, we get to experience these things, and we really need to open up to them and obviously be discerning as well. But like it's just such a magical story. Like I'm just sitting here in just bliss and could listen to you all day. So you stayed there for 4 days. It was, I guess that was the highlight of your whole trip up there. But did you have more to do after that as well? Or yeah.
Yeah. So, excuse me. I ended up catching up with Madeline,
Oh, you
which
did?
was great.
Oh
Yeah,
gosh, that would have been
so many
awesome.
years. So that was really nice. I got to sit and chat with her. I also passed through some pretty amazing mountains,
Mm.
and they were also one of those, what's that? Why is that standing out? And so that was really quite an eye opener for me. It was Virgin Rock, Wolfang Peak, and the Gemini Mountains. So that was a bit of a divergent off the main path, but one that I'm really happy that I followed. I learned some pretty good lessons through there.
Hard
And
lessons or powerful lessons?
yeah, I got told off.
You got
I
told
got
off?
told. Yeah, I did. I got told off by Spirit in front of Wolfang.
Mm.
I haven't looked into it, but I think it was men's country.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you know not to do that next time. They're all
Yeah, I
lessons,
think I
aren't
was,
they?
yeah, keen. And then Finch Hatton was another one. That was absolutely stunning. Like I felt like Finch Hatton was a piece of like far north Queensland for
Oh,
the area that I live in, but further south. Like it was, I'm not really quite sure how to describe it. It kind of felt like the Byron Bay hinterland mixed with far north Queensland waterways and the flora and fauna. Oh, it was absolutely incredible. Like the charge of the land and the energy of the place. Yeah, I'm still quite boggled. Yeah, it's absolutely incredible.
yeah, that's amazing. That's so good. I'm just, as you're telling the stories, I'm just with you everywhere, and I'm just, I'm so chilled out right now. But in my mind, I'm on the journey with you, and it's just so beautiful. And now you've landed in far north Queensland, and you are there. Are you offering your workshops and doing your ceremonies and things like that there? What's your next sort of plan, Murphy?
So currently, get the website done.
Yeah.
That's first and foremost, because the website is my landing platform for the workshops and the trainings and all the other beautiful things that I'm hoping to put through that.
Mm.
So yeah, it's so close to completion. Yeah, so I do have a format for the workshops and trainings, but I'm feeling into, I don't know, like as I evolve, I feel like the things that I teach evolve with me. And yeah, so I'm trying to and I've gone through a very rapid I've gone through a really big growth spurt, I guess you could say. So not only am I coming into a place of balance and ease within that and unpacking that, but I also want to ripple that into the things that I do. So hopefully by the time I put the big green tick on the completion of the website, I'll have the formation and the foundation for the new way forward with the workshops that I'll be doing.
And I know already they'll just be unbelievable, because exactly what you said, as we evolve, so does the work that we do, and what the ripple is that we put into that, and the ripple effect of that as well. So I'm very excited that your website is nearly ready. But people can still find you, can't they? You're on social media, so they can connect with you. Where can they find you?
So Instagram is where I'm most active, although, and that's a little bit of an oxymoron, I'm not really that active. I'm not so active on socials. It is something that I'm going to try and step into more of. I've been unpacking a lot of I've been deprogramming being seen and being heard, and so I feel like social media is going to be, the hurdle. But yeah, it's certainly one that I'm looking forward to jumping and finding a lot of creativity and play with. So I would say first and foremost Instagram. And my Instagram handle is at AiO CACAO. It's all one word. And AiO being AiO and CACAO CACAO.
Awesome. That's great. And you have such a beautiful Instagram page. It flows so well. It's so creative, and it looks aesthetically pleasing as well. And then you've got your beautiful words and wisdom in there too. So there is a lot there for people to dive into, and connect with you there, which is awesome. So that would be the main one. And then when the website's ready, that will be there too, which I'm sure you will put on your Instagram page so people can connect with you when ready to rock. So yeah, hopefully not too far away. Have you got a feeling? This is me just going, when's it ready? When's it ready?
Yeah, I've actually I've been talking with my master astrologer, Sophia Palmer. I think you know
Oh yeah,
Sophia.
she's amazing. Yeah. All these people are great, aren't they? Madeline,
Yeah,
Sophia. Yeah, excellent.
so because it's my baby and it means so much to me, I really wanted to find a period that's coming up soon that would be the most beneficial for its longevity and for its foundation and success. And so for that, I turned to Sophia and I've asked her to find me a day that's well starred. And we have, we have some good ideas around that. So I'm really looking forward to unpacking that. And they are sooner rather than later. So
Oh, that's awesome. That's so good. Sophia is a champion, so that is awesome that you're working that out. So hopefully it's this year. That's all I'm but we'll yeah, it is this year? Is it this year?
yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
No, that's
It's
awesome.
a couple of months away. So
All right, cool. I won't hold you to it. You'll know, and then it will come out at the right time. So I'm just excited. I do that. Oh, that is so cool. Well, I mean, the time has just flown. I've just looked at the time like, huh? What? Wait, what time did we start? So I could talk to you all day and really actually just listen to you all day, because I love your stories and I love the wisdom that you share. And like I said at the start, I always learn something from you, and I love that you are a teacher and a student all in one, and you're always sharing what you have on your heart, and that you follow your intuition, and it's such a good way to be, really. So I just want to say thank you so much for taking the time to be on the show today. And while I'm thanking you, I will thank the people at home. To you at home, thank you so much for tuning in as well. I hope you have loved this episode as much as I have. As always, if you want to leave a comment and connect, always love hearing from you. And I'm sure Murphy will as well. Any questions, just pop them in there. All the links to Murphy's Instagram and everything will be in the description and show notes as well. So yeah, again, thank you for being here. And Murphy, just thank you again for just being the awesome human that you are and for being on the show today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been really, really lovely chatting with you, and I've really enjoyed every moment. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Murphy.